History in an Hour. George Washington, by David B. McCoy. Read by Jonathan Keeble. Introduction. George Washington has become such an institutional figure, at least in the United States, that the source of his prominence is easily lost. Cities, streets, bridges, schools, parks, and an entire state have all been named in his honor. His image is on the U.S. currency, coins and postage stamps. Many manufacturers, keen for association with his reputation of virtue, strength and honesty, put his image on their products to boost sales. As recently as 2010, Washington was shown leading a charge in a Dodge Challenger TV commercial. Turning him into a symbol, however, risks losing him as a man. Born into a middle-class family, Washington became one of the richest men in the colonies. By the age of 22, his name was well known on both sides of the Atlantic. He was unanimously elected as commander-in-chief of an army that would go on to win independence. Behind the scenes, he orchestrated a coup d'etat, which resulted in the creation and implementation of the Constitution, still used in the United States today. Subsequently, he went on to be unanimously elected as its first president. In voluntarily resigning his office, Washington single-handedly redefined the idea of greatness itself. Formerly, great leaders earned esteem by conquering an enemy and subduing its people. During the age of divine right, greatness was a reflection of the ruler's ability to put down threats to the throne. Washington defied these definitions when he walked away from power twice, at the end of the Revolution and after the Presidency, which he could have held for life. When compared with fellow American leaders, Washington was not a particularly original thinker, but his egoless leadership proved a vital and assured presence. So who was the man, George Washington? What did he achieve? And why is he still considered one of the most influential people in history? This, in an hour, is the story of George Washington. Early years in the colony of Virginia. George Washington was born on the 22nd of February, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia, son of Augustine Washington, a leading planter in the area. Augustine's first wife died in 1729, leaving him two sons, Lawrence and Augustine Jr., and a daughter, Jane. Augustine Sr. soon married Mary Ball, with whom he had 6 children, the first of which was George. Mary was wealthy in her own right, and reputedly a self-centered and formidable woman. In addition to inheriting her strong health and disposition to endure hardship, George also seemed to have inherited her temper, which he struggled his whole life to control. By 1738, the family had moved to a plantation near Fredericksburg, Virginia, where George spent much of his youth. This period remains the least documented and understood part of his life. Many of the widely accepted fables of George's youth concern his physical strength and honesty, as told by his early and unreliable biographer, Mason Locke Parson Weems. The education of a son of a wealthy planter normally included, as it did with George's older half-brothers, English grammar and arithmetic. Adolescent years would have included instruction in geometry, geography, bookkeeping and surveying, and would have culminated in a year or two studying abroad in England. Unfortunately, when he reached the age of 11, his father died, and George's formal education ended. From what little we do know of his education, Washington excelled in mathematics and surveying. As George grew into a young man, he found it increasingly difficult to tolerate his domineering mother, and spent most of his time away from home, studying surveying or spending time with his stepbrothers, especially Lawrence. Becoming the ward of his eldest half-brother, George relished spending time at Lawrence's Mount Vernon estate. Lawrence eagerly assumed the role of mentor, aiding and encouraging George's studies. More importantly, Lawrence introduced his young child
Sample complete. Ready to continue?